Good evening, everybody, dear students. This is Dr. Zilfa. I'm happy to meet you again here to talk about the tragedy of Macbeth by Shakespeare. Today, inshallah, we'll talk about, I'll give you a general idea about the themes of the tragedy and or the purposes or the main ideas that the tragedy wanted or wants to communicate. What does Shakespeare want to say to people in this tragedy? Also, okay, it's acted and people enjoy it, but there are lessons and ideas behind what's being said or what's being written. And here we have to know these themes or these ideas. Okay, now the main themes in this tragedy is ambition. Ambition. Macbeth was and his wife were ambitious people, supernatural, related to witches and magic, violence related to murder, guilt, feeling guilty and uh, feeling that someone is doing something wrong, that he shouldn't have done it. Good v, vs evil, and every person or everyone has two conflicting powers inside him, good and evil. Even Allah says, وهديناه النجدين in Quran, وهديناه النجدين. Here, the good road and the evil road. And good people, good believers always choose the good road. Okay, and betrayal, to betray someone means to do, for example, someone who gives you his confidence and he trusts you, but you do something wrong or something bad for him. You don't respect the relation of confidence and trust. You do something wrong against him. So this is a betrayal, like someone, for example, who helps enemies against his country. He is a traitor, and what he's doing is a betrayal. Okay. Now let's see the first theme of this tragedy, of Macbeth tragedy. Ambition. The first one is ambition. Ambition plays a key factor for the reason behind Macbeth's and Lady Macbeth's decision to murder Duncan. Now, yes, they were very ambitious. They were over ambitious to the extent that they kill to achieve their dreams or their ambition. Okay, so ambition is one of the main themes in the tragedy. When someone is over ambitious to the extent that he goes to the wrong way to achieve his ambition, this is something is not respected by people in all nations, and in all eras, and in all um, phases of history. Over ambition that leads people to take the wrong road is something bad, and it's not respected and it's not supported by people. Ever since they heard the witch's prophecy that Macbeth will be king, a temptation had risen. Temptation had risen. Temptation, as if when someone pushes you to do something wrong or to tempt you, to tell you it's good to do that, and so on. A temptation had risen in Macbeth's mind to kill Duncan and to become the king as fast as possible. Okay. This also this was supported by the fact that when Macbeth kills, he did not kill only the king, but he killed everyone that may suspect or doubt Macbeth. So he killed his friend, his close friend. Okay? Now, this is supported by the fact that when Macbeth kills not just the king, but more people, including his good friend Banquo. He killed the king, and after he killed the guards of the king, then he killed Banquo because Banquo heard the witches when they told him that he would be a king. Okay, so he started to doubt that Banquo may tell people about him, and they or they be he believes that Macbeth is the one who murdered the king, so he killed him. Okay, he does not feel greedy or sad, but just more protective for his title, the king. Now, he does not feel sad for the people he killed, only he wanted to protect himself as a king. That's it. Okay, he did not think of anyone else, of anyone's sufferings, of anyone blood, of any relation, family relations. He did not think of any of these virtues, but just to be a king, and he wanted to protect himself as a king. His will, his desire to become a king has overtaken him, controlled him, has overtaken him, and thus he has been consumed by his ambition. Okay? Now, so his desire of being a king controlled his manners. Okay? Everything he did only he did to protect himself as a king or to achieve his ambition to be the king. The fact that there is no much temptation and will hidden inside the character's mind proves that one of the themes in Macbeth is ambition. Okay, the fact that there is no much temptation and will hidden inside the character's mind. Okay, he was ambitious and he wanted to achieve his ambition. This is something was in his mind. Okay, supernatural. As I told you, in the Elizabethan age, there was a strong belief of the witches and the supernatural creatures. Okay, so you see that the play starts with the scene in meeting the witches, that Macbeth met the witches in the heath. Okay, and the witches told him the prophecy that he would be a king, and he would be the Dane of Cawdor. First the Dane of Cawdor, then he would be a king. their prophecy, which is something with something supernatural, uh, is the source of the whole tragedy. The whole tragedy was built on this prophecy, on this supernatural supernatural words. So these words moved the ambition of Macbeth and his wife. They moved the ambition of Macbeth and his wife, and the ambition of Macbeth and his wife pushed them to kill the king and Duncan and Macduff, the friend of Macbeth, and other people, children and women, and okay, everything was based on this supernatural prophecy, okay, and followed by the other events, the ambitious Macbeth and his wife, the murdery, all of it was based on the prophecy of the witches, which is one of the characteristics of Elizabethan age, that the belief in witches. Then another theme in this novel tragedy is violence. Violence. You start you from the beginning of the tragedy. The first scene is Macbeth is coming back with his friend Banquo after they have achieved victory in the war against the Dane of Cawdor. Okay, they are victorious, but it was a war against the rebellions, people who rebelled against the king. So it was violence. It was a type of violence. Violence is the central idea in Macbeth. After that, another violence, he killed the king. Another violence, he killed Macduff. He killed his colleague, which the officer, which was his close friend. Okay, the play and also uh, other violent matters happened. He not only killed the king, he not only killed Macduff, but he also killed, as we told you, as I told you, he killed his close friend. Then he killed the sons and the wife of one of the leaders also. So he killed the guards. So every and then at the end, the army with Malcolm came and killed Macduff. So another war and another violence. So violence prevailed the tragedy. Violence prevailed the tragedy. Okay, it was very common. The characteristics, one of the main characteristics of Macbeth tragedy is violence. Now, the whole concept starts here. The whole concept starts when the witches predict that Macbeth would be the king and the Dane of Cawdor, and minutes later, one of the prophecies comes true. Here we are talking about the prophecies of the witches, how the supernatural prophecies caused the whole events of the play. The whole story is revolving around the idea that the witches accurately predicted that Macbeth will be crowned king. Macbeth will be crowned king. He will be a king. and caused Macbeth to go on the loose and start doing wrong things. So the prophecy was the cause which moved Macbeth's ambition and to start his evil manner of murdering people, since the witches are the cause of all the things going on. It can be said that supernatural or witches' manners and supernatural prophecies uh, are one of the main themes of Macbeth's uh, tragedy. Guilt. To feel guilty, it means to feel that you have done something wrong and you blame yourself for it. Although most of Macbeth is violence and ambition, there is also another part of guilt. Guilt is felt by a few of the characters in the play, prominently being featured on Macbeth himself. Macbeth himself started to feel guilty. In one of his expressions, he was looking at his hands and he's imagining that there is blood on his hands, and he says that the, all the seas and oceans in the world cannot clean his hands of the blood. Actually, there was no blood on his hands. He was imagining that there was blood on his hands. His hands were attached with blood of Macduff, the previous king. Okay? Okay, the previous king is Duncan. Okay, not Macduff. Okay, so at the end, even his wife, Macbeth's wife, felt that she was guilty to the extent that she started to perform hallucination and walk at night till she died. So because she was feeling guilty. Another theme of the tragedy, Macbeth, is good vs evil. Good against evil. The idea of good vs evil is clearly shown in Macbeth from the beginning. There is a conflict between good and evil. Now, Macbeth was a brave warrior who fought against the rebellions or the people who rebel against his country and against his king. But the, the, uh, the other face of Macbeth, what was he was an ambitious man who started to murder people. So here is the conflict between good and evil inside the same character. Actually, witches did not tell Macbeth to kill people. They told him to be a king. But this prophecy improved the evil inside him. And as I told you, Allah said, وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. It means man can choose between evil and good, between vice and virtue. Betrayal. What's the meaning of betrayal? To betray someone or to practice or to perform betrayal means to do something wrong against someone who trusts you or who gives you confidence. Instead of being loyal to your country, for example, you support the enemy. This is a betrayal. When you support the enemy against your country, so this is a betrayal. Okay. So betrayal is also was one of the themes in the tragedy Macbeth. That is because the king appointed Macbeth as the end of Cawdor. Okay, and it's something a very good position in the country. So he gave him his confidence, and he also gave him another form of confidence when he came to sleep in his house. Okay, but Macbeth did not respect this virtuous relation, this good manner of the king, and he killed him and killed other people only, even his close friend Banquo. Even his close friend Banquo was killed. He killed him and he killed other people. So he betrayed the confidence or the trust which was given to him from the king, and he betrayed his friend Banco, and he also betrayed his country because he turned his country to a bath of blood. He shed blood of people. Okay, so he betrayed his country and his people and his king in all those bad deeds he did. Okay, thank you. These are the themes. Now, when you are reading and acting the play, you have to feel these themes and to find them in situations and in actions which take place in the tragedy, okay, or in the play or in the drama. Okay, thank you very much.